Hey there, Magic players. Barry White here from MagicUntapped.com and Magic Untapped right here on YouTube. You probably recognize this guy.
Hello.
Mark Rosewater, the Morrow. Thank you for joining us
Oh, you're welcome.
yet again. You're a great guest here on the channel. Always happy to have you on. And it's been a kind of a busy past year at Wizards of the Coast.
It has, making a lot of Magic sets.
Making a lot of Magic sets. We had murders. We had outlaws.
Yeah.
How have things been received? Kind of looking over the last year.
It's been a mix. So we started the year with Murders of Karlov Manor, which was probably our sort of low ebb of the year. It definitely of the premier sets, the one that we got the least popular response on. I mean, it did okay, but it didn't. I mean, the rest of the sets following the year did much better than it. And I think looking back, I think we hit the detective theme a little harder.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight's 2020,
Yeah,
as they say,
2020.
which is also Merit Age, by the way, also 2020. And then we had Outlaws.
Outlaws of Thunder Junction. That was a set I led. We got really good response to the mechanics in the set, and it had like plot and spree and saddle and stuff. We introduced a lot of cool mechanics and some of the highest ranked mechanics we had of the year.
Oh, were they?
Yes.
Okay, what were some of the highest ones that
I think
people liked?
Spree was the highest rated mechanic of the year, although I don't have the newest data, so I haven't seen like Duskmorn and I have very preliminary stuff on Bloomborough. So
those are some more recent.
I mean, Spree was of 2024 of the data that I've seen, Spree was the most popular mechanic.
We mentioned Bloomborough. That was so far personally my favorite release of the set.
Bloomborough has probably been our biggest hit of the year.
Yeah.
Once again, Duskmorn's really new, it's doing well, so it's hard to gauge that because it's so new. But Bloomborough's been very popular. People love the themes, they love the mechanics, they love the creative and the world, and yeah, Bloomborough was just our home run of the year.
That was a grand slam of the year, if you ask me. Bloomborough was, and like I said, Duskmorn still pretty recent, but people overall seem to be really happy with it.
Duskmorn's been doing really well, and people really seem to enjoy it's probably the sharpest turn we've ever done from the light airiness of Bloomborough to the creepiness of Duskmorn.
I think it was a capital T tonal shift.
Yes. But yeah, Duskmorn has been doing really well. People are very happy, and then the limited especially is getting a lot of high marks, and rooms are a brand new mechanic that people have been talking about. So
right, people are still trying to figure them out too. It's really kind of fun because you can see like from one week to the next of two different booster drafts, same person. You can tell they're trying something new with the rooms every time.
Yeah, the thing about Duskmorn, it's got a really deep limited game. There's a lot of interesting things to play, and yeah, we've gotten really good marks on it. So that's a lot of fun.
And now, so we're basically up to what's currently available, but coming up here really soon, we have Foundations.
Yes.
What are your expectations with Foundations?
Well, the idea of Foundations, really, we are trying. Look, ever since I just celebrated my 29th anniversary working at Wizards. And
Happy 29th.
Thank you. And since the day I walked in the door, I was like, how do we teach beginners how to play? How do we have what we call a barrier to entry. Magic's a really fun game, and it's deep, which is good, but it's complex and it's hard to learn. And so we spent a lot of time figuring out how do you teach new players to play. And for the longest time, our philosophy had been, well, make the first game they play as simple as possible. You have to sort of strip out things that are too complicated and make a very simple beginning. And so what Foundations is trying to do is show why Magic is cool. And it really is leaning into what about Magic makes it so cool. So for example, we have a lot of deciduous mechanics are in the set. We're showing a showcase of all the different worlds we can go to, and a lot of legendary characters and a cycle of planeswalkers that we want to show you why Magic is so exciting. And so about 50% of the set is reprints, and not just any reprints, historical reprints, things that we think really are iconic parts of Magic. We brought Land of War Elves back, for example.
Right, which made me happy as a guy who's been playing for about 30 years. That made me happy.
And then the 50% that's brand new, we lean into things we know people like. I mean, they're brand new designs, but they're playing into the things we've learned that players really enjoy. And so through 2029, this is going to be legal and standard. And
very long life.
Right, and it could be legal more than that, but we're probably at least at 2029. So the idea is, we used to make a core set every year we change it, and we're like, look, we're trying to simplify things, we're trying to have a little less going on, so let's just make a basic set, introduce it, and then it's always there. And if you're a franchise player, okay, when it first comes out you can learn about it, but then you don't have to relearn it every year, it's just there. The cards exist, you can play them in standard, but you don't have to every year relearn them, and that's one of the ways to simplify things.
That makes sense, and good shelf life that way too.
Yes.
After that though, we have the set that was nicknamed Death Race.
Nicknamed Death Race.
Nicknamed Death Race. Aetherdrift. Tell me a bit about this, as I know this one is literally a plane, not just plane spanning, a planes spanning set.
So what happened is a couple years ago we had Merchant Machines. There was a giant Phyrexian war, and the idea was that it opened up the gateway between worlds. Normally only a planeswalker can cross between worlds, but now anybody, if an open path opens up, anybody can walk between worlds. So what kind of sets can we make that we couldn't make before? So one of the ideas we liked was what we called a multi-planar set. We called it a travelogue set, it was our nickname design. The idea that I can see multiple worlds. It's not just one plane, but multiple planes. And we said, okay, what's a cool event that can happen that you would want to go to multiple planes? We're like, well, what if you had a race? It was nicknamed the Death Race at the time.
Race, yeah.
But the idea is this is like a really hardcore race with high stakes, action, adventure, but danger, and we're playing into vehicles because obviously it's a race, so the vehicle subtype, there's more vehicles in the set than any other set we've ever done.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And we're visiting, we teased, we didn't have to say what they were, but we teased the 3 worlds. If you go online, you can see pictures, you can kind of piece it. One of the worlds really likes vehicles. One of the worlds really likes dinosaurs, so you can sort of go through and piece together what they are.
So like hint here and there, right? Right. And what were some of the inspirations behind that set? Well,
basically the idea is, one of the things we love to do is just take a genre that's kind of fun, and racing is just a really fun, action-oriented, like we like to do things where Magic is very action-oriented. You want things to happen. And the idea of making, like the very first meeting we had, we sat down and we said, okay, how many vehicles can we have? What's the most number of vehicles we can put in a set and not cause problems? So like we went to the play design team and said, okay, how many vehicles can we have? And we talked a lot about what is the design space for vehicles, and like what can vehicles do when they're not a vehicle and stuff like that. Like one of the issues about vehicles is how many can you put in your deck? And so we tried a lot of different things. And so anyway, we really just explored all the different possibilities. Racing gave us a lot of fun themes. And also there's the main story, the main character of the story is Chandra.
I saw that,
and Chandra is in the race. Nissa, who Chandra is with, lost her spark, and the prize of winning is something called the Ether Spark. Chandra is in the race to try to win it for Nissa. And so there's a personal story there.
I actually really like that personal story. It kind of gives a little emotional investment too.
Yes.
Yeah. So but after that, though, we're going back to a much beloved plane, Tarkir.
That is true.
Tarkir Dragonstorm?
Yeah, Tarkir Dragonstorm.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so 10 years ago, we visited Tarkir. It was a world overrun by Khans, and it was Sarkhan Vol, one of the popular planeswalker. He was from there, and Sarkhan Vol loved dragons, but the dragons of Tarkir had all been killed off by all the Khans, and so he found out the cause of them disappearing, so he went back in time, and it turns out that Nicol Bolas had killed Ugin, and Ugin was the source of the Dragonstorms, and so what happened was he went back and saved Ugin, and made a brand new timeline, so Khans of Tarkir became Dragons of Tarkir.
Right, and we have Magic History videos featuring Mark Rosewater. If you do want to catch up on that, it's in the Retrospectives playlist right here on Magic Untapped.
Okay, so one of the challenges is we're going back to Tarkir. Now there were 2 different timelines of Tarkir. One timeline had the Wedge clans, and the other timeline had the dragons. So our mantra in making this set was the best of both worlds.
Okay.
And so basically what happens is the clan, for reasons in the story, the clans sort of reemerge. And so we have new clans, I mean, same Wedge, but with the clans are sort of reemerged. We have new dragons, and so it is all the Wedge play that you love, all the dragons you love, but now all together in the same set.
And with that Tarkir theming that a lot of people really have an attachment to.
Yeah, Tarkir is an amazing world. In some ways, there's 5 different subsections of it. All the clans will be back. And yeah, I mean, we really had a lot of fun leaning into the coolness that is Tarkir. The creative team did an amazing job.
After that, I think we're going somewhere else too.
Next, we're going to the edge of Eternities.
And that's all the way up in space, I believe, right?
Well, so the idea is we want to do Magic from the very beginning was very centered in sort of high fantasy. And over the years, we've really stretched the definition of what fantasy can be. Part of what Magic has really thrived at is finding a lot of different ways and mixing fantasy with other genres. So
it really has evolved.
Yes, so we are mixing fantasy with science fiction. We are going and doing space fantasy. So we're talking planets and aliens and space spacecraft and all the trappings that come with being in outer space. But it's still grounded in Magic. The 5 colors are important, and just actual Magic is important. And so we did a really cool way of taking a genre that people love, but really wrapping it in sort of a Magic wrapper, if you will.
I'm going to have to ask, how does that work? Is science fiction, high fantasy? How do you get those to merge?
Well, I think the key is, instead of technology, which is really the source of science fiction, we use Magic. So the idea is, it has that quality of technology, but we've replaced the technology with Magic.
Okay.
And a lot of people say that high enough technology feels like Magic. And we did reveal there is a familiar character who's going to show up, and probably up to no good, knowing who it is, but Tezzeret is showing up in the set.
Okay, so I guess you can say he's bridged his way into an upcoming set. Mark, as we're looking forward here at these next few sets coming out and things around it, what really excites you? If you had to pick the one thing in the next 12 months or so that you're really holding on to, what's your favorite thing?
Of my children, which one do I love the most?
Pretty much.
I mean, I'm excited about all the sets. I think I'm a big science fiction fan, and there's something really exciting. I really enjoy when we combine fantasy with science fiction. So I think Edge of Eternity is the one that I'm just most excited for, because the scope of it is just so huge.
Okay, well, it sounds like Wizards of the Coast has a huge year planned for Magic the Gathering. Using it as a segue, see what I did there. And Mark, it's always huge to have you here on the channel on Magic Untapped. So glad you can join us. Great information here. A lot to look forward to as we go into 2025. So I guess we'll just stay tuned and see how the Magic evolves. Thank you very much for watching.